So today we are going to be making this. So we're going to be building up this sort of planet-y sun star thing and then blowing it up. So if I just put it into 1/8 of the resolution, because it's quite horrible on my computer. That's not actually that hard to accomplish, although it looks really good, and we've got a tiny bit of 3D in here with the CC sphere effect. So let's get straight into it. Let's start by making a new composition, 1920 by 1080, so we've got the 16:9 ratio, and let's make it 10 seconds long. Okay, so here we are. Now we're going to create a new solid, and we want it to be black. That doesn't really matter, and we're going to call this sun. Well, actually, let's just call it magma planet. Okay, so we're actually going to use a little bit of a cheat here, and we're going to go into animation presets that is built into After Effects, and we're going to go to backgrounds and then grab magma. And as you can see, we now already have a sort of very magma looking thing, but you can see here they zoom into it and it doesn't look very good. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit it a bit. So we're going to go into transform, we're going to turn off the rotation and the scaling keyframes, and we're going to zoom in a bit like that. So that looks quite good. Now we have this, but you can see eventually, the evolution cuts out because it doesn't last forever. So we're going to undo this keyframe and then Alt-click evolution, and then we're going to do time times 100. I find 100 works quite well for this, although you can play around with that. And now it's going to do it for the whole time. And basically what that piece of code means is it takes the time, so for example here we're at 1 second, and it multiplies it by 100, and that's the value of this evolution, which changes what it looks like. So now we've got a cool sort of magma style thing. So we're going to close this, and we're going to grab the CC sphere effect. I'm going to slap that on there, and now you can see we have a planet. Put it into 4 res because we're not playing anything. Let's close all these built-in effects to the thing, and we'll go into light and shading. So ambient, we probably want 100, so that looks quite bright now. So let's turn down the diffuse. The specular basically makes it look like a sphere, so there's sort of a red glow there. We don't want that because it's not like a shiny ball. Roughness, don't worry about that. Metal, it's not metal, so turn that down. And reflective, well, there's nothing to reflect off, so it doesn't make any difference. So there we go, we've got our sphere, and you can see, not in real time, but it does have an evolution. If we just turn down the res, you can see there, we've got a cool evolution. So what we're going to do to this is we're actually going to go to the rotation in the sphere, and I think we want a Y rotation. So we're going to also alt-click this, time times, and let's try another 100. Let's see how this looks. Okay, so that's a bit fast. We don't want it to be going that quickly, so we're going to move it to 50. Whoopsies. See how that looks. Okay, that's quite good. And now, we can't mess with these ones because you can see with the fractal noise it creates sort of this polar effect, and it doesn't look very good. You can see we've got one there as well. And yeah, so we can only do Y rotation without revealing those, but that is fine. And there's actually a bit of a dot there, so I actually want to slow this down. I think I'm just going to do 10 because we really barely need it moving at all. And then you don't get the gap between the start and the end of the fractal noise, because it doesn't get to it. So I think that looks quite good. And we're not going to worry about the background for now. What we're going to do is we're going to worry about blowing it up. So we want the shatter effect, and this is a built-in effect in simulation. Slap that on there and you can see this has come up. So basically what this is doing is it smashes things. But at the moment it has wireframe and the forces. So this is the wireframe, all the bricks, and the forces width here. So we don't want this, we want rendered, which means it'll take this sphere and it'll smash that up. But you can see it doesn't look very good like that. So we want to go into shape, and you can play around with these. I quite like herringbone, although glass is probably one of the better ones. And you can see now it also looks quite bad. Just skip a few frames, you can see that looks terrible. So we're going to turn up the repetitions, which makes more pieces. And actually I think I am going to go with glass. Yeah, that looks a bit better. So you can see now it explodes outwards, which is quite cool. Now we're going to go into forces, and we're just going to leave it at this. We're going to actually want to move it up because it's an explosion, so it's quite a powerful force. So that actually makes it blow up a bit faster. And then we're going to go into physics, and we're going to go turn gravity to 0, because we're in space, so there is no gravity. And you can see that just completely blows up. And actually I think we want more repetitions. So that basically just means smaller pieces, and you can see the gravity isn't affecting them anymore and they're not falling down. I'm actually going to turn up the rotation speed a bit, just to make them look a bit more randomized, because that looks cooler. So that's all we need there. And basically at the moment we've got the problem of the fact that as soon as we kick play, it explodes. So we want to not have that. So we're going to turn the radius down to 0 and keyframe it. And then we're going to move to around 3 seconds and turn the radius up to around 0. Let's try 1.5. Okay, alright. Let's go in here, see what's happened. Don't want that. Don't want that. We want the shatter effect. And the keyframes are in force 1. Okay, so if we just move this along to there. Okay, so it looks like the whole planet's blowing up, and now we're going to move it right to there. So we've got a few peaceful seconds of the planet just floating around, and then boom, it blows up. So that looks quite good, and we've done that quite easily. So we've already modelled the planet and blown it up. So now we just want to take it to the next step. So here I'm going to use Action Essentials 2, and I've got the firecracker, and I'm going to throw that underneath my planet. So this is sort of, if I just put it on top so you can see it, this is basically just a very quick and bright explosion. So if we put this under magma planet and move to the place where it actually explodes, so there, and we just put that there underneath. I want to scale it down a bit so it's inside the planet. Now it's got more of a bang to it, so it looks more explosive. I like that. And what I like to do to this effect is actually add a glow, because it's quite white and I want it to look more orangey. So just go to here so we can actually see it, and we'll undo that. And then glow, we're just going to turn up down the threshold, turn up the radius a tiny bit, and turn on the intensity. And we're going to go with A and B colours, and we're going to click a orange and a yellow, like quite a bright yellow, like that. So it's got a bit more of a glow to it now. Just turn that up a bit more, turn that up a bit more. So I'm quite happy with that. Let's look at that now. Just a peaceful planet floating around, and then boom. Okay, so that looks quite good. So now you can see on our original thing, first off we have a background, which we'll do in a moment, but secondly we have a cool shockwave effect, and that's really easy to do. So we're going to make a new composition, and we want this one to be a square, so we're actually going to go 1:1 at 1080p pixels, not p, that's a different thing. I'm going to make a new solid, and now you want to choose the colour. Since I've got quite an orangey planet, I'm going to go for quite a light, actually quite a dark orange, almost completely orange. And there we go, we've got that. And then we're going to get our ellipse tool, so you just hold it down, select the ellipse, and then double click it, and you get a perfect circle. So then what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate it and subtract. So you can see we've pretty much got rid of everything apart from a small line, because these masks are on top of each other. Then we're going to pull down the expansion, and we're actually going to pull down the expansion a little bit on this one and turn up the feathering a little bit on the top one. We don't want to overdo it, but on the bottom one we want lots of feathering, like so. So that looks quite good now. I'm happy with that. So we're going to go back into our original comp and throw that on the, I know I haven't named them. So you can see we've now got that, but we've cut off a bit. So we actually want to go in our second comp and grab our original mask and actually bring it down even more. So you can see now we've got the full shockwave and we're not losing any of it. So we're going to turn that into a 3D layer, transform, orientation, not that one, I always get this wrong. There we go, that one. So I quite like that, and I want to turn it a bit, not that that does anything, and tilt it just a tiny bit. So now again we're going to go to the actual explosion, which is here. Just shorten this to there, and then probably want to stop the effect around there, which is exactly the same as the firecracker. So obviously this looks awful. You've just got, suddenly there's a ring there. So to fix this, we're actually going to change the scale. I'm going to scale it down so it's just a little baby thing in there, and then we're going to move along to here and just not do that, and just scale it up to like that. So that's quite an aggressive scale, but that looks quite good. It's quite gradual, so it doesn't go too quickly, like so. Now next up we want to make it fade out. So around here we're going to grab the opacity, keyframe that, and then as soon as it stops we want it to be at 0%. So now we have this. So I'm quite happy with that. So now we've got that, what we want to do is add a glow effect to this, just to make it look a bit more vibrant. So we're going to grab our glow, put it on there, and already that looks fine for me. So you've got that, and it fades out like that. So there you go, we've pretty much done the effect. All to do now is, if we close these, go into our project, throw in a background. I just found this on the internet, scale it up a bit. I like to scale it up a lot, move this over here. It's got quite a cool starry thing. And I didn't do this on the original one, but actually, now that I think about it, it probably will look quite good. I'm going to create a new solid, and this is optional. I'm going to make it black, and what we're going to do is we're going to add a lens flare. So if you don't have optical flares, you can go into the effects and presets, and there is actually a lens flare on here. Screen it down, put it up here. It's not the best of lens flares ever, but it looks fine. It'll do anybody who hasn't got optical flares. But if we just delete that, go into Effect, Video Copilot, Optical Flares, or you can use Null Light Factory. I prefer optical flares. Go into Options, and for this I'm going to get rid of, actually I quite like this. I think I'll get rid of the spike because we don't need that, and otherwise that's fine. I think I'm going to add a bit more of a glow, like that. and the colour is fine. It looks quite spacey. Click OK. Okay, so now let's scale this up, position it there. So now we've got a bit of light, but I actually want to go back into our magma planet now, and I want to do a bit of shading. So let's go into CC Sphere, shading, and just turn down the ambient and turn up the diffuse and a bit of specular. There we go, all done. I want to go to our firecracker and screen it, not color dodge, screen onto the background, and now we have this.